Behind the smiling Facebook photos and viral social justice moments lay one of America's most disturbing cases of child abuse and murder. This is the story of the Hart family. In 2014, a photograph captured America's heart. 12-year-old Devonte Hart, tears streaming down his face, hugging a police officer at a Black Lives Matter protest. The image went viral, becoming a symbol of hope during a time of racial tension. Devonte's adoptive mothers, Jennifer and Sarah Hart, were celebrated as progressive heroes, two white lesbians raising 6 black, adopted children in a seemingly loving, multicultural family. Their social media told a beautiful story: happy children at music festivals, enjoying nature hikes, and living their best lives as a tight-knit family unit. The Harts presented themselves as the ultimate champions of diversity and inclusion. But the carefully curated image of this perfect family was hiding a horrific truth. Jennifer and Sarah met at Northern State University in South Dakota in the late 1990s while studying elementary education. After Sarah's graduation in 2002, they moved to Minnesota to start a new life together. On paper, they seemed like ideal adoptive parents, employed, stable, and passionate about making a difference. Their journey into parenthood began with fostering a girl named Lee, whom they returned to the system after complaining she stole food from the trash, a clear sign of starvation that everyone missed. By 2006, they had adopted 3 siblings: Marcus, Hannah, and Abigail. 2 years later, they added 3 more: Sierra, Jeremiah, and Devonte. The perfect family was complete, at least on Instagram. 4 years after that famous photograph of Devonte, Jennifer Hart would deliberately drive her SUV off a 100-foot cliff in Northern California with her entire family inside. All 8 members of the Hart family died. Toxicology reports revealed Jennifer was intoxicated, and Sarah had researched how much Benadryl to kill a 130-pound woman. The children had all been drugged. 19-year-old Marcus had been given the equivalent of 20 pills. How did this perfect family end so tragically? The warning signs had been there for years. Teachers had reported seeing bruises on Hannah's body when she was just 6 years old. She told school officials that Jennifer had whacked her with a belt. 2 years later, Abigail told authorities her mothers had hit her and held her head underwater as punishment for finding a penny. All 6 children reported being starved as punishment for minor infractions. The consequences for these reports were shockingly mild. Sarah pled guilty to a misdemeanor assault charge, receiving only community service and probation. No jail time, no removal of the children. Instead, the Harts were allowed to pull the children from school, claiming they would homeschool them, effectively cutting off any outside observation of the children's well-being. When investigations began, the Harts would simply pack up and move to another state: Minnesota to Oregon, Oregon to Washington, each move strategically timed to escape mounting suspicions. Child welfare authorities in different states failed to communicate effectively, allowing the Harts to start fresh with each relocation. In Oregon, an anonymous report described the children as looking like concentration camp victims, severely malnourished. When CPS began investigating, the terrified children recanted their stories of abuse, likely out of fear of retaliation. With no hard evidence, the Harts escaped again, this time to Woodland, Washington. Neighbors in Washington recalled disturbing incidents. Dana and Bruce DeKalb remembered 15-year-old Hannah escaping through a second-story window in the middle of the night, her body thin and frail. She ran to their doorstep, begging for help and claiming her mothers were racist and abusive. The Harts quickly arrived, convincing the neighbors Hannah was troubled. Days later, Hannah delivered a typed formal apology that seemed obviously scripted. In the weeks before the crash, Devonte began sneaking to the DeKalb's home asking for food. He begged them to hide it near the fence so his mothers wouldn't see.
Their daughter's telling us, please, 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 begging us not to make her go back and that they were abusing her. And then Devonte coming over here and telling us that, he's being starved to death.
When concerned neighbors finally called Child Protective Services on March 23, 2018, the Harts fled with their children. 3 days later, everyone would be dead. Inside the Hart home, investigators found a disturbing scene. The children shared one bedroom with no toys or decorations. There were no signs that children actually lived there. No artwork on refrigerators, no school projects, no beloved stuffed animals. It was as if the children existed only for photo opportunities. Cell phone records revealed a chilling timeline of their final days. After fleeing Washington, the family drove south through Oregon into California. The mothers stopped at a Walmart to purchase Benadryl, but security footage showed only Jennifer and Sarah entering the store. The children remained unseen in the vehicle. Sarah's final Google searches included, "How much Benadryl to kill a 130-pound woman?" and "Does it hurt to die?" Jennifer drank several bottles of beer before accelerating off that cliff at full speed. There were no skid marks, no attempt to stop. The SUV's computer showed Jennifer had actually accelerated to 90 miles per hour before deliberately steering off the cliff. Perhaps the most disturbing aspect of this case is how many times the system failed these children. Despite multiple reports of abuse, Child Protective Services never removed the children from the Harts' custody. Devontae's biological aunt had tried to gain custody of him and his siblings, but was denied over a technicality. What allowed this abuse to continue for so long? Some have suggested that Jennifer and Sarah's image as progressive white lesbian adoptive parents gave them cover. Their performative social justice activism convinced many they were saviors rather than abusers. They weaponized their identity, using accusations of homophobia or racism to deflect legitimate concerns about their parenting. Even the adoption process failed these children. The agency that facilitated the adoptions had a history of cutting corners on home studies. Background checks across state lines were inadequate. The system, designed to protect vulnerable children, instead delivered them into the hands of abusers who saw them as props rather than people. The Hart family tragedy forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about how we judge parents based on appearance rather than actions. It reminds us that abuse doesn't always look like what we expect. Sometimes it hides behind viral photos, progressive politics, and Instagram-perfect family portraits. After their deaths, friends and family came forward with stories that revealed warning signs. Jennifer was described as controlling and quick to anger. Sarah was passive, allowing Jennifer to dictate their family life. Their relationships with extended family had deteriorated as relatives expressed concerns about the children's welfare. Instead of addressing these concerns, the Harts isolated themselves further. 6 innocent lives, Marcus, Hannah, Abigail, Devontae, Jeremiah, and Sierra, were cut short by the very people who should have protected them. Their stories remind us of our collective responsibility to truly see children, to listen when they cry for help, and to look beyond perfect family facades. The Hart family wasn't destroyed in a moment of madness on a California cliff. It was dismantled slowly, systematically, over years of abuse, manipulation, and missed opportunities for intervention. For every smiling photo shared online, there were countless moments of terror behind closed doors. Remember their names, remember their faces, and most importantly, remember that sometimes the most picture-perfect families hide the darkest secrets. For these 6 children, justice came too late. The system that should have protected them failed at every turn. Their legacy should be a wake-up call, to never again mistake a curated image for reality, and to always listen when children tell us they're in danger. In an age of carefully constructed social media personas, the Hart family tragedy reminds us that true child welfare requires looking beyond the perfect family portrait to see the truth hidden in plain sight.